Hello and welcome back to Chiefsman's Corner, the recorded edition. This will be the last corner before 2024 arrives, as I'm going to be on hiatus for the next few weeks enjoying some Christmas break, and the wife will be home as well. So therefore I won't have the time or spot to record. I'll attempt to be available for comments when this goes live about 9 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesday night. I realize I'm off a day. Got busy yesterday with some other stuff. First day off from work, so getting it out a day late, but hopefully still will be entertaining. I'm your host, Coach Winuvas, one of the leadership team here in WFL, and the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. That's kind of weird to say after saying Arizona for so long. This show will dive into Week 9 action. We'll highlight some players of the podcast. We'll answer some Ask the Chief questions to finish out this show and finish out 2023. If anyone's tuned in for the premiere, welcome aboard. Thank you for listening. You can comment in YouTube chat. If I'm around, I will respond to any comments. If you're watching this at any time, whether it's the premiere or not, though, thank you for watching. Any and all support is appreciated. Without you, the WFL doesn't exist. The first thing we're going to talk about, as always, is the WFL's incentive plan. This plan allows you to get some perks that aren't available for every member simply by doing some extracurricular activities that involve WFL. Anything from Twitter to articles on the Neon Sports site to commenting or participating in this show, even chatting in Discord can earn you experience points. Anything that makes the WFL a more immersive experience and increases its presence in the Mag community can earn you some sort of credit. A link to the incentive plan is available using the custom command /incentive plan in Discord. That is all one word, /incentive plan in Discord. The next thing to talk about is our Ask the Chief form. You can use this form during the week between episodes to submit any questions you have for me, and I'll answer them during the show, giving you credit for the question. It's an easy way to build up incentive points and provide extra content for the podcast. You can use the command /askthechief to pull up the form in Discord. That is all one word, /askthechief. You can type that up in any channel in Discord. With housekeeping out of the way, we're going to go to Week 9 action right now. And in Week 9 action, we start off with a simulated game between our newest Panthers owner Big Pun Love, and Barats and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And unfortunately, the Buccaneers fall to the Panthers 28-14 in a simulated game. The Panthers move to 4-5, while the Bucs fall to 1-7. In our first played game of the Week 9 action, the Tennessee Titans overcome the New England Patriots. 24-21 is your final. The Titans move to 8-1 on the season, while the New England Patriots do fall to 2-7, but do get a little consolation prize, at least in the show. They do get Offensive Player of the Podcast honors go to Lance Brewer. Lance Brewer was very hot in this game. He goes 17 of 25 for 272 yards. He had 3 touchdowns and no picks in this game. It was a 3-point loss, but it was nothing to do with Lance Brewer. He did everything he could to help his team win the ball game. Moving on with Week 9 action as we move to the Dallas Cowboys, and La Migra, moving from the Raiders to the Cowboys, gets a welcoming committee party from the New York Giants and Clive Vertigo. 35-3 is your final. Welcome back to the NFC East, Coach La Migra. They apparently missed you so much they had to beat up on you. Could have been worse from what I understand reading the chats, but Clyde took it easy on him in his game back. 35-3 is your final. Giants move to 7-1. Cowboys fall to 2-7. Week 9 action with the Chargers and the Raiders facing off in an AFC West matchup. As I lose 20-17 on a last-second field goal to Coach Smashmouth and those Chargers. The Chargers move to 7-2, and your Raiders fall to 3-6. Denver Broncos in action against the Cleveland Browns. Ross kind of trying to figure his way out without Deshaun Watson. He is seemingly benching Deshaun Watson for current, I believe, rookie free agent Brad Darby. Darby didn't have enough to get it done, though, against the Broncos. The Broncos win 20-14. Ross and the Browns fall to 2-6, while Denver goes to 7-1, maintaining their lead in the AFC West over the Chargers by a half game. In Week 9 action, your Eagles, Philadelphia, 7-2 on the season as they romp on the Saints. 41-14 your final here. Saints fall to 2-6 and having a tough season in year 2 of the Saints rebuild, I guess, at this point. Week 9 action between the Cardinals and Rams. NFC West action between the new Cardinals owner Johnny P1 moving from the Cowboys to the Cardinals in a 3-team swap. he enjoys a little bit of away cooking against the Rams, wins 30-14. The Rams are 0-8 on the season, while the Cardinals move to 6-3. I can't really say it's an upset anymore because the Colts are having a bit of a down year. More on that in the Ask the Chiefs section. But the Bengals and their high-powered offense whip up on the Colts. 47-38 is your final. I feel like the Bengals are a Big 12 team in action. They have all kinds of offense and they have zero defense to show for it. The Colts fall to 3-6 while the Bengals improve to 6-4. The Bengals are starting to find their stride on offense, not so much on defense. If he figures out the defensive side of the ball, those losses will stop piling up. Minnesota and Green Bay in NFC North action. The Vikings cruise to a 31-19 win over the Packers, moving to 8-1 on the season, while the Packers fall to 3-5. In a game that was almost played but not quite, but ended up being a force sim win, the Seahawks win 10-7 in what was apparently thrilling action as far as the simulation goes. The Seahawks do move above 500 at 5-4, while Chicago falls to 3-5. In game of the week action, the Falcons take care of business and beat up on the Commanders 35-21. Your final here. Studley and the Falcons move to 7-1, while the Commanders fall to 5-3. And the NFC champs from last year looking like they're taking one on the chin a little bit. That's a tough conference to get out of. He might have to try and make some run here at the end to get back into it. Week 9 continues with Ravens and Steelers in AFC North action. As my prediction to kind of take over the division, the Steelers fall to the Ravens. 44-26 is your final. The Ravens move back up to 500 at 4-4, while the Steelers fall to 4-6 on the season and in third place in the AFC North. In AFC South action, we have the Jaguars and Texans, and the Jaguars squeak out a 5-point win over the Texans. 27-22 is your final. Jaguars move to 6-3 on the season with the benefit of your defensive player of the podcast, Trayvon Walker at defensive end / edge. Man had 4 tackles and 2 sacks in that 5-point win over the Texans and was one of the key reasons that they get the job done. So he earns defensive player of the podcast honors for week 9 as we jump back into action here. Finishing up with our last game on the docket, we have AFC East matchup between the Bills and Dolphins. Friends become foes as Kobe and Meek Boy duel. Unfortunately, the Bills have too much talent right now and overcome the Dolphins. 44-31 is your final. Meek Boy goes to 6-3 on the season, while the Dolphins fall to 1-8. And that is it for your Week 9 action as we jump to our Ask the Chief segment coming up here in just a moment. Alrighty, as we have our Ask the Chief questions popped up, you'll have to forgive me. I'll have to scroll back and forth to kind of get these questions highlighted as we move through them rather quickly. D. Perot, our Jets owner, says, our ask, do you feel like the changes made to the blocking sliders have had their intended effect? Do you foresee any other slider changes? Sorry. As I click off of, let me scoot that back over here. I think, as I come back on camera here, I think so far the sliders that we tweaked have done some good. I still don't personally see enough pass rush and sacks, at least in games I participate in, to warrant further changes not being made. In other words, maybe lowering pass blocking even further. I will tell you we won't do it during the season. It'll be something we talk about for year 8 or year 3 of our cycle here. But I think that would be the only thing I would tweak at this point. If you look at our numbers as our stats go, they look pretty solid comparatively speaking to NFL numbers, considering we play 5 less minutes quarters than NFL does. And obviously we're playing a video game. I think our numbers are fairly on par with a couple of outliers here and there, but that's going to happen. I think the main concern I personally have, and it could be something that's skewed on my end because I look at it from a video game standpoint. I'm used to seeing guys break the real NFL sack record of 22 sacks every season. Like I think our record book is 26, I want to say, sacks. So I'm used to seeing those level of numbers, and I'm used to seeing by this level, this time of the season, I'm used to seeing multiple guys in double digits. And I do believe, and I'm going to bring it up on the backside as I'm talking, I do believe at this point of the season we don't have anybody, and I could be completely misknowing this. So I'm actually going to scroll in here and check right now. I'm going to check and see who leads the league in sacks. And right now it's a guy on my team, Max Crosby, who has 8 through 9 games. So that seems like that might be on par, honestly. I want to see where the sack numbers end up before I decide, yeah, we probably need to tweak pass blocking. It could just be something that is. But, looking at the leaders in sacks on the backside here, TJ Watt's number 2, Micah Parsons is number 3, Von Miller's number 4. I think the only outlier, because I'd have to look at his numbers, is Arnold Ebiketie, who has 6 sacks. But after Max Crosby's 8, you have TJ Watt at 7.5, you have Micah Parsons at 6, and you have a couple of guys at 6, a couple of guys at 5.5, through anywhere from 7 to 8 games or 9 games played. So I think if we look at the numbers at the end of the season, I think that'll be a better gauge of where we're at. But I think the only thing I would tweak right now is pass blocking sliders going down. But that's, again, I want to see this year play out fully and see the stats at the end of the year to see if we truly need to do that or not. Because I don't want to tweak it at the end of the season and then suddenly everybody's got like 40 sacks per person. I don't want that. If the sack numbers look realistic at the end of the season, then I think we're pretty much right where we're at. So I think I don't see any changes coming in unless the league as a whole like vehemently says, yeah, we need to do this. But for right now, for my money, I don't see any more changes coming unless it's pass blocking dropping a little bit in year 3 of our cycle. Coming back up, we have Studley, who has asked, what in the world happened to the Colts this year and who will take that division? Also, quit hating on the Falcons' passing attack. We are a balanced team. I realized, yeah, there we go. A balanced team. Unfortunately, I've got it so big it blots it out. I read it beforehand, though. As far as the Colts, it's been a very disappointing year, I feel like, for Juke. I think he expected to be in the race a lot more than he is. But I will say that we've had a resurgence and a growth in the Titans and the Jaguars, mainly the Titans. I believe the Titans last year were struggling to get to 500, and this year they're flying high at 8-1. I think Will Levis is really clicking right now, and even though he's not putting up the numbers he put up last year, I think they have a more balanced attack with Derrick Henry. I think they're running the ball and passing the ball equally well, which means they're a dangerous unit. Which means that they're 8-1 for a reason. Now, for the Falcons side, I don't really hate on the passing attack. In real life, I do, because Desmond Ridder's horrible in real life. But in the game, Studley, you run to set up the pass. You do. You're a running team first and foremost, and you have a great running back room with guys like Taylor Algier. You have Bijan Robinson. You have Cordarrelle Patterson when he's healthy. That's a nasty room to have to face, and you can face, and any one of them can take it to the house at any particular time. Even though Algier's not the fleetest of foot, he can still bowl over people. Bijan's a great all-around back. Patterson can get out of the backfield and make plays in the receiving game as well. So that three-headed monster really helps Ridder succeed. And when you've got guys like Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Cordarrelle Patterson in the passing game and Bijan in the passing game as well, you've got a force to be reckoned with. So, and that's not even counting your rookie Landon Urban, who is potentially could be rookie of the year with the numbers he's been putting up. Drafted in the second round, was predicted undrafted, but a guy that had speed for days and days. And I believe you also signed Quez Watkins. So you've got a lot of speed out there to go with London and Pitts. That attack is dangerous. And when you run to set up the pass and guys are cheating up to stop the run, that's when you cheek over them with a play action, or you just hit them deep in a crossing. And with all that speed you have, combined with the power on the outside with Drake London and Kyle Pitts being a wild card at tight end, I mean that's a dangerous offense to stop, regardless of whether it's balance or pass heavy or run heavy. I mean the Falcons are dangerous in WFL. Too Cold asks, are you happy with your latest switch to the Las Vegas Raiders? Will they be a squad you look forward to rebuilding? Also, what, if any, chance do you give the Cards owner of succeeding in the NFC West? So let's start with the first question. Do I enjoy my switch to the Raiders? Uh, it's not really an enjoyment thing. The reason I swapped, honestly, I wasn't looking to swap. I wasn't looking to swap at all. Even though I've been frustrated with my game, I wasn't frustrated with the team I had put together. I was quite happy with Kyler Murray, even though he's having a down year was having a down year from his first year. I liked what I had built. I liked the team I had. I was working the cap a little bit, trying to get some room to get some players in year 3, that second off season, to kind of maybe try and make a push for number 2 in the division, maybe even number 1. But ultimately, Johnny approached whenever we lost our Panthers owner to the military obligations. He approached me DM'd me about taking over the Panthers. He wanted out of Dallas, even though it's his favorite team, because he was not having fun getting beat week in and week out. Those are his words, paraphrased for the most part. He wasn't enjoying losing as his team, and I can understand that, and I can get behind that. He was willing to jump to the Panthers, but I offered him an alternate route because I know that Lemigra, who took over the Cowboys, was the Raiders. Even though he lives in Las Vegas in reality and is more of a Raiders fan than a Cowboys fan, he will always be a Cowboys fan at heart. So essentially, I offered him the opportunity to move to the Cowboys, and then essentially I offered Johnny a spot in Arizona because I know him and you, Too Cold, are buddies. Y'all kind of jawed each other a little bit. You gave each other a little guff. You enjoy playing each other outside of the league. I've seen y'all play a couple of one-off games online in Madden. So you enjoy competing with each other. You enjoy giving each other guff. You seem to take it rather well. And I do think that it always helps whenever you can have a buddy in the division to kind of help you through the doldrums that are Madden when you're not very good. I think Johnny's got a puncher's chance with that Arizona team. And I think once he gets an offseason where he gets some more players in that he likes, I've given him some advice on what I was looking at and what I was thinking, but obviously it's not my team anymore. It's his team. So whatever he decides to do is up to him. But I think once he gets some players he likes into the system and gets them into the fold, he's got a puncher's chance in that division. I think that division is wide open for just about anybody. That's what appealed to me about the NFC West, honestly, was the fact that I felt like anybody in that division had an honest shot at least, except for me, who, just being number 2, but at least I could at least week in, week out provide some level of pushback and gumption. So I think Johnny will be just fine. I think he'll be happier. I think having Polio and Cold in the division where he can kind of, be a little mouthy and get away with it a little bit and feel like he can get away with it a little bit, I think that'll help. That'll help his enjoyment level. So I took the Raiders purely because I didn't want the Panthers. I mean, I'm a Saints fan in real life. I wasn't really wanting to go, toe-to-toe twice a year against the Saints and against the Falcons and against the Bucks. So I wasn't really wanting the Panthers. I wanted Johnny to have some enjoyment, so I offered him Arizona so he could get back in a division with Too Cold, with you, who asked the question. And so I kind of made that swap to make sure that we had happy owners, essentially. As far as the Raiders, I actually like, now that I've kind of had a week to kind of digest what I've got on the roster, I've got a pretty decent situation. The thing I'm most worried about is next year, all my offensive linemen that start are entering the last year of their contract. Oh no. So I'm going to be probably heavily drafting or trading for offensive linemen if I can, seeing what I can get for some players that I want to deal. I really like Devontae Adams. I'm hoping I can get Deion Kane back into the fold in the offseason from Arizona. We've talked in DMs. We'll see where we're at whenever the offseason hits. But if I get Deion Kane and Devontae Adams, and I've got a kid rookie, Kendrick Farr, it's a nice threesome of wide receivers. Farr is kind of a clone of Devontae Adams, though not at that level. Really good attributes. He's not the fleetest of foot, but he's a big body guy that really likes to get physical, has a lot of different little traits that'll help immensely. Devontae Adams is a monster. I did not realize how good he was. And another guy who's low-key good, Josh Jacobs. I say low-key because he's 99 overall, but yeah, I didn't realize how an elite running back can help you until I had one, because I didn't have one in Arizona, and now I do, and that's like, wow, that's a difference. I think the biggest thing for me is culture shock for offensively speaking. In Arizona, I was running pretty much, I had one I formation set, one. Now I have 8 or 9. So it's a wildly different offense than what I was running in Arizona, where it was highfalutin, shotgun, pistol, read option. None of, well, shotgun, there's some shotgun, but it's not near the amount it was in Arizona. There's a lot more I formation, a lot more under center. I have a pure fullback in this roster, which I didn't in Arizona. So it's different, but I'm working with the differences. We'll see what happens in the offseason. But with Josh Jacobs in the fold, signed long-term, Devontae Adams for a couple extra years, and then you got Max Crosby on the other side. You got Tyree Wilson at the other side, edge rushers that are supremely more talented than what I had in Arizona. The linebackers are a little shaky. The secondary's solid, but not spectacular. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's not a lot of rebuild. It's more like tinkering and adding some players I like and trying to figure out how they work. But I think I'll enjoy I'll enjoy Las Vegas. But I didn't move because I wanted to. I moved to kind of try and help a league owner out as far as his enjoyment level with Madden. So, but ultimately, hopefully, it works out for me. And then finally, our last question comes from I Gave You Polio. Hey Polio, what has been your favorite trade by any team this Madden? Oh man. Okay, so let's kind of research this a little bit because I'm having to research this on the fly here. I didn't really look into this too much. Trades I don't typically pay attention to a ton unless I'm voting on them at the time. So I don't really know everything that everybody kind of moved around in pieces. But I tell you what I will do is I will stroke an ego a little bit, and I will say that I think that the superstar deal made for where Kenneth Walker and Rashad Bateman moved to Detroit for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jack Campbell, I think that was a pretty phenomenal deal for the Seahawks. I'll be honest, I kind of questioned why the Lions would do it from their end, because you give up a player in Jahmyr Gibbs who is got more contract length than Kenneth Walker does. You're giving up a linebacker that's a pretty good linebacker. You're giving up a wide receiver in the last year of his deal, granted, but a guy who could have earned you a lot of ORP points if he walked in free agency because somebody would have signed him. And you trade him for Rashad Bateman, who's kind of okay, and Kenneth Walker, who's good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think the Seahawks made out like bandits in this trade. And I think that ultimately it's paid off in the win-loss column because whenever the Seahawks made this trade, Polio, as you well know, you were struggling, and I believe you were 2 or 3 games below 500. Now you're above 500. So clearly that's been a really good deal for you. So I would say that's probably the best trade because you made it at a time whenever you needed a spark. You made the trade, you got it through, and that spark has paid off dividends. You've managed to kind of creep your way back into relevancy in the NFC West. And you're right there in the hunt with the Cardinals and with the 49ers. And if you get some wins late in the season, you could sneak in there and get into the playoffs. And pretty much anybody who makes it in the playoffs in the NFC West, like I said in my last corner, is a pretender. But, I mean, depending on your matchup, who you draw, you got to punch your shot, especially the Seahawks, I think, just because I think running the ball in the playoffs is a huge thing to try and keep the ball away from your opponent. Unless they're just a high-flying, quick-strike offense, which some offenses are, but most are not. And with that, the corner's over. That's the last corner of 2023. So with that, I will say thank you, as always, for tuning in, whether live or to the recording after the fact. Obviously, this is not live, but I mean the premiere. I appreciate it. The WFL appreciates it. We hope you're entertained by the show. Let us know by throwing us a like, subscribe, or leaving comments. Any and all feedback, good or bad, is appreciated. Until 2024, folks, the corner is closed.